Kevin Magnussen is back in Formula One, and this time he feels different.
Losing F1, having closed the chapter on F1 fully, mentally, makes it a little less scary now. I hope I can have many years in Formula One from now on, but I'm not scared anymore. I don't think it's good to be scared.
Kevin lost his seat at Haas at the end of 2020. There was disbelief. The Dane with driving in his DNA, who delighted McLaren with a podium on his debut in 2014 and had been a solid point scorer in a midfield car, was out of Formula One.
The big dream, what you actually literally dream about in the night, has been winning in Formula One. And last year I had to realize that wasn't going to happen and come to peace with that.
But then, days before the first race of 2022, Kevin's phone rang. Haas needed a driver and they wanted him back.
I said yes immediately because I could feel in my stomach. I got all these butterflies and I was so excited. All these emotions and feelings that go back so far, to my childhood of dreaming of Formula One and all that. It just all came back and I was so excited.
Magnussen, a brilliant fifth on his return with the Haas team.
Yellow. Oh man, thank you.
Kevin, that was some Viking comeback.
After that fantastic fifth place in his first race back and another points finish in Saudi, Kevin's making a comeback to F1 Beyond the Grid with me, Tom Clarkson. You're about to hear one of the most frank and honest conversations I've ever had on this podcast. Kevin talks about how it felt to lose his place in Formula One, how his attitude to life and racing changed during his year away, and why his return feels very different. Family comes up a lot. Kevin and his wife Louise celebrated the arrival of daughter Laura in January 2021. Plus we chat about racing with his father Jan, his relationship with Haas teammate Mick Schumacher, and Kevin's long-term aims now he's back in Formula One. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Kevin, it's wonderful to see you again and to have you back on F1 Beyond the Grid. Does the comeback feel real now?
Not quite. I mean, sometimes I still wake up and think about all this stuff that happened in such a short time, and it just kind of feels surreal because I did have a year out where I fully thought that my F1 adventure was over, and then it came back in such a surprising way. So no, I still feel like it's a little bit of a dream.
You seem determined to enjoy this.
Well, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to enjoy it. It's pretty easy. I feel very lucky. I feel very fortunate to have this opportunity again, and F1 has been my dream all my life, and I had 6 seasons of Formula One with a break in the middle, so 7 years of being an F1 driver, if you want, and I thought that was already very fortunate and cool, and kind of an achievement. And then I came out, as I said, at the end of 2020. I lost my drive at Haas, and I was kind of looking back after that, and got to a place where I was able to feel very lucky instead of disappointed not to be able to do it anymore. I was more, trying to really see it from the point of view that I was so fortunate to even have got the opportunity in the first place, rather than focus on the fact that I wasn't in anymore. I was just feeling very happy that I was able to do it.
So, for those people listening who don't know the story, can you just remind us how this drive came about?
Well, I saw the news that Mazepin had lost his drive.
Where in the world were you at this particular moment?
I was in Denmark, when that news came out, but I didn't think anything of it. I could have easily sent an SMS or called up Günther or something like that to put in my name, but I wasn't even considering it would be a possibility. I lost my drive at the end of 2020, and I knew the kind of the background and the reasons for it, and I just didn't think that I would be.
Did you leave on bad terms at the end of 2020? Is that why you didn't think of texting?
No, I didn't. No, not at all. You know, when I lost the drive in 2020, I didn't leave on bad terms. I understood that the team had to do it and why they had to do it, and you know, I didn't feel like the team let me go because I didn't perform well enough or anything like that. In fact, they, you know, Günther ensured me that wasn't the reason, and so you know, I could understand that you know, this world, this sport is a complex one, and sometimes, you know, hard decision has to be made, you know, for the best of the team, and that was the case in 2020, and you know, I didn't take it personally. I was again thankful that Günther and Gene had given me the opportunity they did in 2017 when they took me on the team in the first place, and you know, I had a great time in those 4 seasons, and they treated me really well, you know, and they were the first team to really give me a home in Formula One, like a place where I could where I felt at home, and yeah, I was just very grateful for that, and then as I said, I didn't take it personally, and we left on good terms. I guess that was part of the reason why maybe this time around it was possible to do, because I could have easily taken it personal. I think, you know, in the past, some drivers, you know, and I also myself, I have left on bad terms because whatever, you feel like you haven't been treated fairly or whatever, but that wasn't the case with Gene and Günther.
You've seen the news. You're at home in Denmark with the family. You haven't sent the SMS, so what happens next?
Yeah, so a couple of days passed after the news came out, and then a couple of people, like in the F1 paddock, were texting me. So, are you coming? Is it you next or whatever? You know, and you know, I didn't even reply to those guys because I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. And also, you know, I was actually in a good place. You know, I'd had a fantastic year last year out of F1. Missed driving these cars, missed racing in F1, but I was in a good place. We had a kid in January. My wife and I moved back to Denmark after 2020, and you know, I hadn't lived in Denmark fully since I was a kid, basically, and all of that was really cool. I had loads of time with my family, and you know, did the IMSA Championship, which I actually really enjoyed, just racing race cars, you know, for fun almost, you know, not that I didn't take it seriously, but it was just for the fun of it, and I really enjoyed getting back to basics with motorsport. So I was in a great place, and as I said, didn't think much of it. But then Günther called me a couple of days after, and you know, when I saw his name on my phone, you know, I kind of knew what it might be about, and you know, I answered, and he just asked me if I wanted to come back. And, you know, that was a big surprise. I said yes immediately. I hadn't even, you know, thought about it. I had contracts with other teams and stuff, so I didn't really know if it would be possible at all. But I just said yes, because I could feel in my stomach that I got all these butterflies, and I was so excited, you know, all these emotions and feelings that go back so far, you know, to my childhood of dreaming of Formula One and all that. It just all came back, and I was so excited. So then I said yes to him and hung up, and obviously there was a few things that I needed to sort out. First thing I did was call my wife.
What did she say?
Well, I went home and talked to her about it, told her, and she was excited for me, but also nervous because she knows how many days you're away, and you know, as I said, we just had a kid also, and she's gonna be alone with her a lot now, but you know, so that was her worries initially, but she was like, you know, you gotta do it. There's no way you're not gonna do it. So you know, we had a bit of a conversation about. You know, just you gotta take all these things into account, even though you feel so excited as a racing driver. I'm also a dad and a husband, so it was important for me that she was on board too, and she was. we're gonna stay in Denmark, and we're gonna do it a little differently to the last time where I was living in England. Again, it just it feels very cool to have this opportunity, and well, we had our daughter last year, and I kind of felt a little sad that I wasn't able to connect those two big things in my life, Formula One and my daughter. They had never overlapped, and I kind of felt a little sad about that. And I had those thoughts before I got this opportunity, and now I'm able to really connect those two things. And my daughter is going to be able to be at the racetrack, and I had her there in Bahrain for the first race when I came back, and it was just
was that quite emotional having both the girls there?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really emotional. I got in the car. You get in and you get strapped in, and I looked in the mirror, and I could see Laura at the back of the garage. She was there being really excited, and she had no idea what was going on, but she was just excited because there was so much stuff happening, and that was kind of emotional to see my daughter from the side mirror of the Formula 1 car.
She had a seat fit while she was there, I saw as well.
Yeah. I was doing my seat fit, and Louise my wife came into the garage with Laura, and Laura sees me and it's like she wants to get in the car with me, and so I sat there with her and doing my pedals and stuff, and she's doing all the switches on the steering wheel and stuff, so it was really cool.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
Have you ever regretted not paying enough attention at school when it came to your language classes, or simply want to expand on your skills and give yourself a goal to work towards? Well, with Babbel, you can learn a new language with just 15-minute daily lessons. There are 14 different languages to choose from, so it doesn't matter if you want to impress with your Italian, perfect your Polish, or simply be fluent in French, Spanish, or German. Babbel can help you reach your goals on your schedule. It's available as an app or online, so you can log on and take a lesson whenever and wherever you want, and your progress will be synced across all devices. What I love about it is that they design their courses with practical, real-world conversations in mind, so you're learning things you'll actually use in everyday life, focusing on useful vocabulary, and it's all thanks to the fact that their lesson plans are designed by real-life language experts. And right now, Babbel is offering our listeners 6 months free with a purchase of a 6-month subscription with the promo code GRID. Go to uk.babbel.com/play and use the promo code GRID for an extra 6 months free. That's uk.babbel.com/play, promo code GRID.
You said yes to Gunter without knowing how competitive this car was going to be, and I'm quite fascinated that you did say yes so quickly with no indication of performance.
Well, he did kind of give me some indications of how much work and effort had gone into the car, and he didn't say that it would be this good. He just said that they made a big effort and that they had kind of sacrificed at least last year fully to focus on this year's car and even also the year before. So I know what the team can do when they I know what they can do when they do it right. I think in the past, what we've seen in 2018, the car was superb. In 19, it was also kind of good. It had some potential because in qualifying we could be like top 5 sometimes, and then we had this problem where in the race it would eat up the tires. But I know the potential the team has. I felt like there might be an opportunity to get back to that, given that they'd worked so hard on this year's car for so long. It's a blank sheet of paper. It's not. It's a fully new concept for all the teams.
Okay, and how quickly after driving it did you realise that it was a really good car?
Well, when you drive a Formula 1 car in winter testing, you can't compare lap times with other teams because it.
So you going fastest the first time you drive it? Try and ignore that.
Yeah, well, you can't ignore that, of course, and as I said. You can't really know, but I had a good feeling that it would be kind of good because we didn't run like a fully low fuel all out lap, which by the way I never understood why teams do that, because anyway we're gonna find out in 1 week where everyone is. So why not just go flat out everyone? But anyway, so I had a feeling, and the car felt good. You can feel when the car is well put together and that it didn't have any sort of issues in balance. It wasn't difficult to drive. It was predictable and nice to drive, and that's always a good kind of indication. It's not always, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be super fast. Some cars are slow and easy to drive, but at least it's a good indication. So yeah, it was good to have that P1 time, and as I said, we were anxious to know what the other cars were running because we thought that might be pretty good.
Now, from a driving point of view, what's been the hardest thing for you to get re-used to?
There's not really anything hard to get used to. It's more the hardest thing has been my neck, because you can't really train your neck. You can train your neck, but it doesn't get you fit to drive an F1 car. You can do all the training you want on your neck, and I've done that in the past. And you get in the car, and it just hasn't made any difference. You're still completely messed up after the first day in the car. So getting back, these first 2 races have been quite tough on the neck.
And are these cars more physical than 2 years ago?
No, thankfully not. They're a little less physical because the corner speeds are a little slower, and that just helps. It's not a lot slower. It's only a little bit, and that just helps a little. I'm glad I'm not getting in one of the old ones.
We're talking about getting reused to things. Are you having to extract the lap time in a different way with these new cars? 40 kilos heavier, different aero. Are you having to do things differently in the cockpit?
Not so much. I mean, there's a little bit because the tires are a little different, and they require slightly different driving style. You can't combine the Gs as much as with the old ones, but that's okay. I mean, I think that's not such a big change, but I think it's a good thing for me, having been out for a year, that we've got these new cars. So everyone is starting not from zero, but at least from a step back, having to learn things.
Going back to the physical preparation then, how long will it take you, do you think, to get back up to where you should be?
I reckon probably another 2 months. Now I had 1 month of being an F1 driver again, and being fully into training again, and living the F1 life where you train every day and focus on your fitness. Not that I didn't train last year at all, but it was a lot less than when I was an F1 driver. I kind of just did the training that I needed to be fit for sports car driving, and coming from Formula 1 into sports cars, especially my neck was like no problem, because those cars are a lot slower than Formula 1 cars, and always for racing drivers you need to be fit. Fitness helps you, there's no question. It's not like you can't be a good footballer if you're not fit. That just doesn't happen. As a racing driver, you can drive to a very good level and be absolutely unfit. That does happen. So it's kind of a weird sport like that, but fitness does give you an edge. But in sports cars, as any race car, it's still the neck. The neck is the point where you get tired the most, and I just had this really strong neck from Formula 1. So as I said, I had a bit of a break from training last year, and I regret that now.
Does a fit body mean a fit mind?
It does, yeah. It does make you better. It's just that this sport, you can do well and not be fit. Well, you shouldn't not be. Well,
Kev,
fit,
look at you, Bahrain. You qualified 7th, finished 5th, or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and but in a couple of months' time, I'll be fully fit, and it's going to be better.
I did want to ask you about Saudi. Very fast corners, a neck killer. How did you survive that race? How did you get through 50 laps without your head falling off?
In qualifying, my neck gave up completely, and I had it not because I was tired. I was tired, but that then you get back in the garage, you have a little rest, and you can go again for one lap at least. You're fine. But I had this nerve that went into like a spasm, and I had super stiff neck. I couldn't move, and it was so painful. So in the corners, because of pain, I just couldn't hold my head, and I couldn't control the car then, because if your head is like flapping around, then you can't feel what the car is doing. You can't handle the car. So in Q3, I just didn't get anything out of the car in Q3, and that's why we qualified 10th. And I think the car was super good. I think because it was so close from like P9 to P5, there was only like 2 tenths from P9 to P5, and I was 3 tenths off P9. So I think we could have been fighting for P5 with the car if I'd been fit enough, but I wasn't. And in the race, it was a little better because again you get full fuel. It's a little slower. You're looking after your tires, so you're not fully on the limit everywhere on the track. So it's a little more predictable. You in qualifying you need to be right on the limit every centimeter of the track. So you really got to feel what the car is doing. Whereas in the race, you got to stay slightly under the limit to look after your tires, and that just means the car is more predictable. It doesn't suddenly snap or something. So a little easier to control, and you can rest your head a little easier.
Pedro de la Rosa told me recently that he had this problem at Jerez once when he was testing for McLaren, and he ended up wedging his head so tightly in the cockpit that it couldn't move, and he did the hands up really tightly so under braking his head couldn't move, and then he just wedged his head in so he couldn't move. Right. That was his solution to the problem. But
that is a solution. But again, you can't feel what the car is doing so well. You kind of have some of your balance, or it's like as soon as you fix your head, if it's not free, then you can't feel what the car is doing as well, and you just go slower. If you can't hold your head up straight and against the forces, then you can't be fast.
And you were still razor sharp in the race. That battle with Lewis Hamilton and everything else you had going on. So
yeah, we had good pace, and I got used to driving with my head out, during the race. So by the end, I don't think I was losing a lot of lap time. The IndyCar drivers do it at Indy 500. They lean their head and they have great feeling for the car. So I think you can get used to it. So maybe it's just like it feels different, and you need to get used to it. So and that happened in the race. I felt fast at the end.
Let's talk about the team. How much has it changed in the months that you've been away? Does it still feel the same?
Yeah, it feels the same. They've got some new people that I didn't know. It's in a very good place at the moment. Everyone is so excited and relieved to be back. I feel like everyone feels like the team is back, to where they should be. It's been a tough couple of years for the team. They've not had a good car, and it's tough when you know you're not fighting for anything, and motivation can be tough to keep up when the car just isn't competitive, and that the team isn't developing on the aerodynamics. And I feel like they're so excited and happy to be back where we are right now.
And new teammate in Mick Schumacher. What are your first impressions of him?
First impressions are very good. He's a super nice guy, very down to earth, and sort of very, very polite, and is good with everyone. He's everyone likes him, and immediately he's been very open, and he's very keen to learn. He's asking questions, and you don't always have that between drivers. Sometimes they're too proud or whatever, so don't want to work together and at least ask questions. It's kind of, maybe some drivers are scared of showing weakness or whatever, but Mick doesn't really care about that. He just wants to learn, and I feel like in the debriefings his feedback is good, and he doesn't make excuses. He's very honest with the team. If there's something that, like his mistakes or whatever, he's open about that, and not trying to find excuses. And so I feel like his attitude is very good, and he's obviously very talented. He won F3, won F2 before F1, so I feel he really deserves to be here. It's kind of tough because he has this surname. His dad is the biggest Formula 1 driver ever, and some people may think that he is here just because he's a Schumacher, but he really has what it takes to be here. He's done what was needed, maybe even more. Like some drivers got here and didn't win F3, like myself. I finished second in F3, and loads of other drivers in F1 didn't win everything before. So yeah, he's a very talented driver, and I think he's gonna do well.
And are you relishing the team leader role?
I don't know if I really see it like that. I mean, I'm the most experienced in the team of me and Mick, and I'm trying to, I'm aware of that, and I'm trying to make use of it, and help the team with my experience. But it's not something I don't feel entitled to anything because I'm the most experienced. I just try and do the best I can for the team, really.
It must be very rewarding for you to be the person that the team is looking at for guidance this early in the season because of that experience. That's almost like a new thing for you, a new experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's also an extra pressure, I guess. But again, I feel like Mick is also good. Although he only has 1 year experience, he's an intelligent guy, and it's not like that the team doesn't listen to Mick at all. It's still very balanced. It's not as big a difference as you may think. I just try and do my thing. I try and be very open to Mick. I don't feel like I need to hide anything. I feel like
is he the first teammate that you've had that relationship?
He's certainly,
that
yeah,
close relationship?
I would say so. Somehow this time around, I don't feel stressed about anything really. If I can help him, that helps the team, and that's good for me. So I feel like that's a little different this time. I'm more relaxed, and if he goes better than me because I've helped him out so much, then I can then learn from him, and that will then take me to another level, and that's how you build up, and bring each other forward, and that's what I hope will happen.
Here's a call out to all small business owners and entrepreneurs. If you're looking to expand your team and hire new employees, then look no further than LinkedIn Jobs. Just like in F1, time and speed are two things you can't afford to lose when you're building your business. And that's why LinkedIn Jobs is the easiest way for you to connect with the people you want to interview faster and for free. You can create a free post in minutes and tap into the world's largest professional network with more than 30 million people in the UK. Their simple tools like screening questions make it even easier to zone in on the candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. And once you're done, don't forget to add the hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile so your network can help you spread the word and find your new team member. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster, and you can post a job for free. Just visit linkedin.com/grid. Again, that's linkedin.com/grid to post a job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
KMag, you do seem incredibly relaxed. Is it age? Is it parenthood? Is it life experience? Just what do you attribute it to?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because it hasn't really sunk in that I'm back. But I think it's a combination of all the things that happened, in that year. I feel like the year I had out, it felt like 10 years. It felt like so much stuff happened in just like a year and a half time. When I got back in the car, it didn't really feel like I'd been out for very long. But when I look at all the stuff that happened outside of the track, it feels like a long time. And I think having a kid certainly gives you it moves around on all your priorities in life a little bit. I think suddenly some like Formula One is still super important, but it's not the most important thing in your life. Something else is more important. Like your family is more important, and the life outside of F1, related to anything with your family, that life is the most important. And before it wasn't. Formula One was absolutely the most important thing, and I thought like happiness was 1-to-1 related to F1. At least that's how it felt, you know. And if it wasn't going well on track, then like my whole life was misery, and it's not like that anymore. You know, I could like it feels very different. I feel.
Does that make you a better racing driver?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. It certainly feels like I'm able to enjoy it more. You know, I feel like it's all just like bonus. You know, it's all like just a gift somehow, and I can just have fun. And I don't know. It feels like. And also, I think maybe losing F1, like having that slip away and having closed the chapter on F1 fully mentally, then makes it a little less scary now. You know, I've lost it, and I felt fine with it. You know, and now I'm not scared of losing it. I hope I can have many years in Formula 1 from now on, but I'm not scared anymore. And I don't think it's good to be scared. I think it's way better to just be happy and grateful, and then, you know, not have any fear. And that's kind of where I am now. I'm very relaxed, and I know what I'm able to do. You know, I feel like I know my capabilities, and I feel confident with that. And so, you know, there's not anything that I'm really worried about. If that isn't good enough, then so be it. You know. And
was it difficult to wean yourself off Formula 1 last year? Did you, while we were racing, did you find yourself looking at the TV going, "Oh, I wish I was there," or did you quickly move on?
No, I very quickly moved on. And as I said, I was able to very quickly kind of look back at Formula 1 and be grateful, rather than like missing it and feeling miserable about not being there anymore. I felt like just actually I was able to feel way happier after getting out than when I was in it, because when I was in it I didn't feel so grateful. I was more like disappointed in the last 2 seasons of not being where I wanted to be in F1. And you know, we had, as I said, we had a very tough season in 2020, and I wasn't able to appreciate F1 as much as I should have. Then when I came out, I was able to look back at a Formula 1 career, and you know, I actually realized that I was so lucky to be able to get to the sport. You know, F1 is such a hard place to get to, and I was able to get there, and I dreamt about getting there since I was a little child. And you know, looking at it from the outside made it seem so fantastic that it happened, rather than looking back and like feeling bad about not being there anymore. So I did some TV stuff for the Danish TV F1 broadcaster.
Did you enjoy that?
And I did, yeah. I thought I had these thoughts like, I wonder how it's going to feel to be talking about this, like from the outside, not being one of the drivers. But it was fine. You know, I felt really good about it, and I enjoyed the season. It was an awesome season, and we, I enjoyed watching Formula 1 from the outside as a fan, because I am a fan of Formula 1, and made me appreciate the sport from that perspective also.
And when your daughter Laura, sorry.
Well, it depends how if you're Danish you say Laura.
But she was born prematurely, wasn't she?
Yeah.
How tough were those early weeks, both for you and wife Louise?
I mean, I don't think I realized how bad it can be when they're premature. I had never thought about it. You know, when Louise went into labor, it, you know, I thought, okay, that's a little early, isn't it? You know, I didn't really fully think it all through. So we got to the hospital, and the doctors were telling us that, you know, what could happen when you give birth this early, and you know, I thought, oh, that's not good. But then it all went so smooth, and she came out, and she was breathing by herself and screaming and all the things. Like she was fine. So I didn't worry about it so much anymore. The doctors were happy, and she came a little early, but they said she's just gonna develop normally, but like as if she's 2 months behind. So everything's gonna happen 2 months late. So I thought 2 months, it's only in the beginning that's gonna be. Maybe you'll realize it in the beginning, like she's gonna start walking or whatever a little later. But she didn't. She's walking, and she walked when she was 12 months, and that's fairly normal. So there's no problems.
Now, quite a few Formula One drivers wait until they've finished racing to do the family thing, have kids. Did you ever think along those lines, or did you always want to?
I kind of thought the same, and I'm super happy that I got this year off out of F1, because it meant that I had a year where I did 9 races last year, so it's not like I wasn't going anywhere, but it was very chilled out. And although it's like half a Formula One season, it feels like only a tenth of a Formula One season. It feels so much less. And also moving back to Denmark and all that, I had so much more time on my hands and was able to really spend so much time with Louisa and Laura, and get to know Laura, and become a dad, get used to that. It was really, really cool to have that year, and I wouldn't have been without it. I'm very, very grateful. It's just so lucky the way it happened.
And the racing fan in you must have enjoyed getting to some really iconic racetracks. I mean, what was it? Daytona, Watkins Glen. You did all of those big tracks in America. Did you enjoy that?
Massively, and as a kid, my dad has been racing in IMSA for 20 years or something, and I've been with him to tracks and races in America so many times, and that was also something that it was also a dream of mine, that to race at those tracks. When I was a kid, I looked up to my dad. I still do, but I was like at those races really wanting to try those tracks and those race cars, and I got to try that part also. It was also like a little bit of a dream come true. I felt very much like a lot of childhood memories going to these tracks, and it was fun to try and do it myself, and talk to my dad about it. I talked about racing with my dad in a different way than I've ever done, because now I really did something that he knows a lot about, and because all the Formula One tracks today are so different to when he drove, and the cars are so different, and so I've never actually really been able to get so much advice, like technical and driving style wise, from my dad, whereas in IMSA I was able to really always make use of him and his experience. So that was really cool, and I love driving those cars as well. They're very simple, and the tracks, I mean, they're crazy tracks, and I just love it. It's very old school over there. It's fun. They have a lot of fun.
Now, talking about dreams come true, you did Le Mans with the old man. Well, first of all, who was quickest? Come on, we all want to know.
That wouldn't. I mean, my dad hasn't been driving downforce cars for 20 years, so
actually, true. It was
quicker.
an LMP2 car, wasn't it? And he's been in the sure.
Yeah, and so
you're making excuses for him, Kev.
Well, no, I know that my dad was a super good racing driver. He still is, a super good racing driver. If I went in a GT car, I wouldn't be as fast as him, no doubt about it. So it's just that I was very used to that. I did DPIs in America, which are kind of similar to LMP2 cars, but it was cool. It was so fun to do, and such a privilege. We were talking about it when we were at Le Mans, like, so cool that we're able to do this. Just dad and his son on a weekend, spending it at Le Mans at the 24-hour race, and it's such an iconic place, and also again it's something that I've watched my dad do for 20 plus years. It was a really cool experience.
Well, I remember you saying, I think it was in 2015, you went to Le Mans as a fan. Didn't you even go with? Didn't you go in a camper van or something like that?
Yeah, I did.
Different experience to this one.
Completely. And My friends, I had a couple of friends from Denmark, were going down there. They were doing this road trip down to Le Mans from Denmark, and I just hopped on board and had a full-on normal Le Mans experience from watching from the grandstands, and that was a really cool experience too. So in these breaks that I had from Formula One, I've had some cool experiences.
And when you're racing with your dad at Le Mans, what did you learn from him? As you say, he's got so much racing experience, 20 years in sports cars, of course. Quick in Formula One, dominated the junior formulas. Is there one thing that you went, crikey, Dad, you still got it?
I would say there's not a lot that I didn't know already about my dad. I think it was really interesting to compare data with him, because I know my dad so well as a person, as my dad, and I've also always looked up to him so much as a racing driver, but I never fully knew what he was like how does he use his brakes, what kind of inputs is he giving in the car, and what does he like from the car, and like how does he feel stuff that the car is doing. But then we were able to drive the same car in the same session, and then jump out and compare data, and I was able to see my dad from that side, which for a racing driver, it's very nerdy and technical, but it was interesting to see. Only in data can you really see the real racing driver in a person, and it was so cool to compare my data to his in the same car, on the same track, same tires. So I learned what kind of racing driver and what kind of style, in detail that he has, which was so cool. Something that I'm very glad we got to do.
Actually, just before we move on, what was his reaction when you rang him and said, Dad, I'm going Formula One racing again?
Oh, he was over the moon. He was like, yeah, so happy. He loves it. He gets he's so into it. He's watching everything, and now he has a lot of time. He's gonna watch all of the sessions, whereas in the past he was very busy with racing himself. But now he's gonna come to many races, and that's also a new situation. He's never had time, so I think we're gonna see him at the track a little more now.
Do you think you've got what it takes to take on the tasks of Kevin's team principal Günther Steiner? Well, F1 Manager 2022 is a new, fully licensed management game putting you in the role of team principal at your favourite F1 team, ready to take on all the challenges of the 2022 season and beyond. Giving you the most authentic F1 management experience, fully licensed and brought to you in broadcast quality presentation. Drive every decision as team principal, choose how to develop your car as the season progresses, manage your staff, and hone your race strategy for each weekend. Live the drama of F1 on and off the racetrack. Be prepared to react to dynamic events such as changing weather, evolving track conditions, or race incidents. Vote on upcoming rule changes to swing things in your favour and come out on top. Launching on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, summer 2022. Visit f1manager.com to wishlist the game on your platform of choice, and follow on Twitter at F1Manager to stay up to speed.
Let's look ahead at the remainder of this year. What can you achieve with Haas? Is a podium a realistic goal?
It's certainly a dream. I think about it quite a lot. We are in the fight to be the best team after the three big ones, and if you're that, then you're the 7th car on the grid, if everything is normal. So it doesn't take that many cars to have problems to then get a podium. And sometimes Mercedes look like, at least in the beginning of the season, they're not going to be so far ahead of us. So it wouldn't take a lot of luck. I don't think we can drive onto the podium just by pure pace. But last year especially, we saw many teams get on the podium that weren't regular podium finishers. I think it's not fully unrealistic to dream about it. I don't think you can expect it, because we're not fast enough to get there just on pure pace, as I said. But I'm dreaming about it, and I'm putting my money on it.
And Kev, do you think with the cost cap now, is there any reason why Haas can't stay in where it is in the competitive order?
Well, there's less reason. You know, the big teams are not going to be able to just fire resources at it, and you know, it's going to be more equal. So I hope Formula One is certainly a better environment for the smaller teams now than it was, and you know, having started this good, that's certainly just a very, very positive thing, because you know, a few things are going to be better for the small teams like us, and it's going to be interesting. It's one of the things I'm more worried about in this season. Not that I'm writing it off, like I'm not saying we can't keep up, but I'm really interesting to see how are we going to be able to keep up with these big teams. They're still very big teams, but again, they don't have the same amount of money that they did in the past. So I hope we can keep up, and I think so.
Well, fingers crossed. Now, you're only 29. You have a multi-year deal with Haas. What are your goals in Formula One now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To win, you know, it's still the same thing. It's just very strange, because my big dream in life was to be a Formula One world champion. First of all, a Formula One driver, but then, you know, the big dream, like, you know, what you actually literally dream about in the night, has been winning in Formula One. That was like the fantasy, the ultimate dream. And last year, you know, I had to kind of realize that wasn't going to happen, and come to peace with that. And I did. And now I'm back. So I have to kind of dig it out again, you know, and kind of, and it comes very natural, you know, but I just have to like pinch myself in the arm sometimes, because it's like, oh, I can actually dream about that again. You know, it actually still exists, and I can still rightfully dream about it.
And the fire in you is burning as bright as ever.
Yeah, I mean, even brighter, I would think, because it happened the way it did. It's very cool. I don't know what, I've said it so many times now, that how cool it is. It's like, you know, it's all I can say. It's so cool. I don't know what else to say.
How has the news been received in Denmark?
It's been very, very good. I think the Danish F1 fans missed having a Danish driver to root for. You know, I saw last year how much they were hoping to get another younger, the next Danish driver into Formula One. They didn't get that. They had to get the old one back, but they love it. And you know, I know that the TV figures for the last two races were like the highest they've ever been. And Formula One also grew a lot. I can feel that from being out 1 year. Coming back, it's very clear that the sport is at another level. You know, the attention that the sport gets, and it's grown. You know, I can certainly feel that.
That's interesting. And the Vegas race in 2023, knowing America as you know it now, having spent a year there, do you think that'll fly?
Yeah, I do. The Americans have fallen in love with Formula One. In the past, they didn't really care about Formula One, and I think Netflix really changed that. A lot of American people watched that series, and it put Formula One on the map there. I think American F1, American motorsport fans are a little different to the rest. You know, they have their own motorsport world over there, and it's kind of unique to the rest of the world of motorsport. And for a long time, you know, it was only that, you know, NASCAR and IndyCar and all of the dirt track stuff they do over there. So it's impressive that Formula One has been able to like break those barriers and enter that space and win the love of the American motorsport fans.
Hey, well, it's exciting times ahead for you, for Formula One, for Haas. KMag, best of luck with it, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Tom.
I've always admired Kevin's attitude to Formula One and to life in general, but never more than now, because he has a perspective that so few drivers have, and we wish him well. Kevin, thanks for coming back on the show. It was great to chat. And if you've enjoyed hearing from KMag, you might like to hear our other interviews with people connected to him and Haas, like Günther Steiner, Mick Schumacher and Romain Grosjean. They're all in our back catalogue. Scroll through and take a listen. Please remember to send in any thoughts or messages that you have about Kevin. Have you seen him race with Haas, or were you at Le Mans last year to see him partner up with his dad? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Which brings me on to what you sent in about Nigel Mansell after last week's show. It's fair to say you loved hearing from Nige again. Nyril C sent this in. I started watching F1 aged 5 when Nigel Mansell was the man. In the one season I got to follow him, his intense determination shone through in his driving style, epitomised by his chase of Senna at Monaco, and I owe my own determination in part to Nige. That's a great message, Nigel, and Nigel will no doubt be thrilled to think that he had such a positive influence on you. And what about this from DR Auto Art? I remember watching the 92 season as a 7-year-old with my dad. He was a massive fan, and he's been gone 20 years now. So this brought a tear to my eye remembering those days cheering Nigel on. He was my first F1 hero. That's a lovely story, DR. Thank you for sharing it. And you're not alone. I think Nigel sparked a lot of F1 passions back then. You sent in literally hundreds of messages, but let's end with this one from Dean Cox. I was really disappointed in the Nigel Mansell interview, says Dean, because it was way too short. I really enjoyed it, and I was at Silverstone for qualifying and race day in 92, and the crowd was audibly astonished at the gap he built up on the first lap. Well, Dean, Nigel always said the British crowd was worth half a second a lap, and that first lap was proof. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you to everyone who wrote in. We're almost done for this week. Please remember to hit the follow button on your podcast app and turn on episode notifications. That way, you'll get our next episode as soon as it's released. And if you like what you've heard, you can write a review or give us a rating as well. Thank you so much for listening. F1 Beyond the Grid is produced by F1 and Audio Boom Studios. Until next time, keep it flat out.